Monica Berghoff, publisher of the Mega Publishing House, said it best when introducing the visionary Dieter Duhm's article.
Corona is a word that marks a major turning point in human history. The more we understand about the corona phenomenon, the clearer are the answers we receive. Monica Berghoff helps us to understand a commonly used word more linguistically, namely, it leads us, she says that the word corona leads us to the crown as a symbol of royal power, to Jesus' crown of thorns, to the halo, and beyond that to a luminous phenomenon in the sky. Also for the corona of the sun that appears during a total solar eclipse. In the German dictionary called Duden, a lesser-known meaning can also be found. A corona is a group of people who have a common undertaking. She writes that Dieter Duhm, visionary and co-founder of Tamera, expands this perspective to a level of order on which opposites and contradictions cancel each other out. And she quotes Dieter, "We feel that a transformation is now taking place that no one was prepared for. It is no longer about polarization, but about a new form of thinking. We will no longer limit ourselves to the old measures of appeals, events, and demonstrations, but we will create a new spiritual basis for life. The crucial thing that is now needed from us and from all humanity is a transition from the old matrix of destruction to the new matrix of healing. From my perspective, it's the most important thing we can do, where 100 people are united in a new spiritual basis. The world changes," he says, and she quotes him.
I don't know how Corona originated and by what power it was able to spread worldwide in such a short time. In the beginning, we could still believe in divine forces of the earth that wanted to provide for the healing of life, for clean air, for regeneration of the waters. But then we suspected that something was no longer right. Why, for example, were the arguments of doctors ignored when they tried to convince the public figures to think about protective measures in other ways? When you see the pictures of people in bizarre masks greeting each other with elbows, when you hear all the official personalities saying the same things in unison, it seems as if aliens in macabre science fiction story have hypnotized the whole earth. I do not want to go into the many aspects of the issue here, as it has already been done thoroughly in a recent post from Tamera. I would like to point out other things.
Dieter Duhm, the genius, visionary, community leader and author who wrote this paper for us,
talks about how to understand Corona. We need to take a wide open view of the whole scenario of our time. Faith moves mountains, he reminds us. When a patient with cancer receives a drug that is praised as the best in the world, it is very likely that his or her prognosis immediately improves. If he or she then hears that the medicine was fake, this power fades. The body resigns, and he or she could die. If a devout Indian wades into the poisoned water of the holy Ganges River and drinks it, he will come out stronger. So what do we want to believe in? It is information fields that determine people's behavior. And it is also information fields that determine the processes of the human body. We humans have a physical body and a spiritual body, which we can also call the information or spirit body. The steering power always lies with the spiritual body, which regulates our hormone balance and messenger substances and our neural connections in the brain. It depends on the work of the spiritual body whether or not the patient dies of his illness. The many reports of near-death experiences and miracle healings tell of the almost unlimited survival possibilities of our body when it comes to the direction of the spirit body. Where 100 people are united in the spiritual body, the world changes. Life is stronger than any virus. Every disease can be cured. That is written in the logbook of life. But if the information of a threatening virus is given to the world with such vehemence, then even a healthy organism can fail. It is always the spirit body that transmits the chosen information to the physical body and brings people together for war or peace, for disease or healing. Without seeing how individual or collective illnesses can arise from a cultural system of life, which, on the whole, overrides elementary life rules of ethics and humanity, and therefore runs in a pathological direction. Even the most sincere person must fail. The pathogen is nothing. The milieu, the environment, is everything, said the French scientist Antoine Béchamp more than 100 years ago. Life on Earth is a coherent organism. We humans, together with all our fellow creatures, are organs in this one organism. What we humans do to our fellow creatures always comes back to us as a disease. As long as weapons are produced in highly civilized societies for the killing of others, as long as bombs are dropped on the crisis areas of the world, on the hospitals and schools, as long as animals are tortured to death in their millions, how can a healthy organism develop? Pigs are very sympathetic and soulful animals. If 60 million pigs are slaughtered every year in Germany alone, how is a healthy biosphere supposed to develop? Dieter calls the result a mental infection spread today by all governments and media. It is a kind of systemic, intentional or unintentional misinformation. The deepest means of immunity is love. Just see St. Francis of Assisi and Mother Teresa. It is clear that no disease can be overcome by means of deprivation of
familiar contacts, touch, love, expressed. There is
no automatic contagion. This exists only on the basis of an equal mental or biological disposition, that is, on the basis of a coherent field. Once humanity's negative sick field is dissolved, the disease disappears. All the powers in the world would not have had the chance to put this virus pandemic over the whole earth if humanity itself had not already been in a sick state. Corona is a condensation of a latent field of fear through which all of humanity is moving today. At this point, I'd like to quote a sentence by Sabine Lichtenfels.
When dolphins swim in poisoned water and get sick, does anyone ask about a virus? If almost the whole of humanity swims in poisoned water, what does it mean to say that a virus is the cause? In the waters of our poisoned world, many pandemics arise that are no longer recognized or named as such because they are part of everyday reality. Pandemics like pneumonia, abdominal pain, cancer, depression, and 100 others.
COVID-19 is a relatively mild virus. The situation became so severe mainly because of the measures taken to combat it as a result of a mental aberration. Dieter talks here about a man-made overall disease of life on Earth as a result of a long history of war and violence, as a result of genocide, as a result of destruction and nature and climate. A fear potential has arisen in the collective soul of humanity that is receptive to all infections. Many pathogens can settle in such an organism. The worst pandemic of our time is a pandemic of fear and violence. But as behind every mirage, there is another reality. As soon as people begin to see this other reality, illusion is over for them. Obviously, we live in two different worlds. The world that we humans brought forth and the world that brought forth us humans. These two worlds must come together to heal the inner crevasse that runs through all of humanity. If we no longer allow ourselves to be completely taken in by the mainstream ideologies of our time, if a chamber of our brain and heart is still kept free for the wonders of life and love, what do we see? There is a sacred force in the universe that shines down to the bottom of the sea, where the pufferfish paints its perfect mandala. An image of that is posted under the link of this website article. We encounter this force all the time as soon as we have begun to notice it. I thank this force because it has saved my life several times. We feel that a transformation is now taking place that no one was prepared for. It is no longer about polarization, but about a new form of thinking. We will no longer limit ourselves to the old measures of appeals, events, and demonstrations, but we will create a new spiritual basis for life. The crucial thing that is now needed from us and from all humanity is a transition from the old matrix of destruction to the new matrix of healing. If only a fraction of those reading this text would enter into resonance with the cosmic healing field, we would have, as a result, as a morphogenic field formation, a healing effect for the whole of humanity.
An example of this is Dieter Duhm's creation, a living community in Tamera, Portugal, which is called a biotope and functions as a resonating healing field, and they're hoping that many such biotopes will actually steady the entire planet.
The spiritual body of humanity now needs new information. Information that is in harmony with the desire for life of all human beings and animals. If it was possible to spread the COVID-19 fear virus worldwide, then it is, in principle, also possible to spread a positive counter field. We all have this capacity by nature, as true as we are human beings, being captured by a new healing virus for a future worth living.